In today's Leeds news, Farke on Schmidt game time, Cundy calls Leeds failures, no go for Buendia, Elvedi transfer update, Harrison loan issue, and transfer linked names updated. Morning folks, Jay here at The View on Friday the 3rd of January with your Leeds United news. Hope you're having a good week so far. Hope you had nice New Year's and New Year's celebrations. There's a bit of stuff to get stuck in today. We will clarify at the very end of this video an update on the names that were linked with moves to Leeds last week. So as a lot of this stuff is speculation and rumour, by the time we get some proper information on it, I will make sure that we clarify the stories that have come out earlier in the week and the month. But we'll start off around Isaac Schmidt and Daniel Farke. Faced questions yesterday about the lack of game time for Isaac Schmidt and his decision to bring on two non-fullbacks when he needed a fullback on the park, despite having a fit and available natural fullback on the bench. Farke opted to bring on Max Verber for Sam Byram, who was described as being exhausted at half-time after playing 6 games in a row. And then when Jayden Bogle went down, Isaac Schmidt went out to warm up, but when he returned to the bench, Ethan Ampadu was stripped off, ready to come on in the right back position. On the topic of this decision, Farke said the following: "This situation was more or less, I was already thinking to change to a 3-man formation. And in this difficult game, I wanted to have my captain on the pitch. And then we have a chance to play with more or less 3 centre-backs. This was the reason I chose to bring him in and not a natural replacement in Isaac." Now, to say Leeds played with a back 3 isn't probably that true. I watched the game, we did a watch along over in Big Up. And from all intents and purposes, Ethan Ampadu was playing as a far right-hand side right back, but wasn't going forward. And that impacted Leeds' attack. All of a sudden, Dan James was having no overlapping assistance. He was being doubled up on, and it negatively impacted Leeds' flow at that point. And having your captain on the pitch, although it's an interesting statement and something he may want to have, is kind of irrelevant given the position Leeds are in the table without their captain on the park for most of this season. So it seemed unusual to bring your captain on in order to put square pegs in round holes when leaving him off and putting a natural fullback in, probably the most logical decision to make, but he didn't. And it's a real question and head scratcher. Isaac Schmidt came into Leeds after having a pretty good season at St Gallen. He came, as I said before, after scoring in a European competition from right back, comes into Leeds and has played less than a half of football combined so far since he got here. So it's an interesting one that when you've got options on the bench that are natural players and natural positions, that you choose to put a square peg in a round hole. We'll have to see if that changes over the course of the next couple of games, but unlikely until we get to Harrogate, and then maybe Isaac Schmidt gets a start in that game. Moving on to TalkSport's resident mouthpiece, Jason Cundy, and he's been zoning in on Leeds United after a caller rang in to talk about Nottingham Forest, of all clubs. Cundy branded Leeds United as failures, and in fact branded them as one of the biggest failures in English football. Cundy was responding to a fan who had called in and described the Whites as the biggest failure in English football. Clearly not aware of his own career path up till this point. The Leeds fan had come on to TalkSport to talk about Nottingham Forest, and Cundy spent his time interrupting the caller, who just wanted to say how pleased he was for Nottingham Forest and congratulate them and make a point about how bigger sides act around when smaller clubs get into that top 10. Cundy responded to this by saying the following: "Why aren't Leeds there? When I grew up as a kid, Leeds, Liverpool and Forest were the 3 biggest clubs. I used to watch Leeds United in the early 70s, then Liverpool do what they did. Why are you congratulating a team where really Leeds United are one of the biggest failures in English football? How can Leeds United be where they are? You should be, in my mind, you should be where Forest are." It should be pointed out that when Leeds were playing in the 70s, Jason Cundy was under 10 years of age at that point, and in the early 70s he was probably 2 or 3. So watching an awful lot of Leeds, I don't think, and Leeds were not a big side in the 80s either. So, and Liverpool, Leeds and Nottingham Forest were never all big clubs around the same time. So not accurate from him. But considering the caller had just called in to make the point that when a smaller side breaks into that top 10, the top 10 sides start to try and pick off their players and drop them back down. But Cundy loves a soundbite, and in his own career, he only made 146 appearances in 12 years as a pro. The most he actually managed was at Ipswich, where he played 55 times for them. He had 45 appearances for Spurs over a longer period of time as well. So, of all people to talk about failures, probably not Jason Cundy to be the most credible one on that one. Moving on to some transfer updates, and we'll start off with the Emre Buendia. And journalist Ben Jacobs has been speaking about the situation involving the Aston Villa attacker, and he says Leeds United will not be signing Emre Buendia in January. Jacobs has reported that the Villa attacker has made it clear that he does not want to drop down to the Championship, same position that he held during the summer. As far as he is concerned, he has done his time at this level and wants to play at a higher level. Villa are said to still want to look to loan the player out, but it could be a lower Premier League move rather than a Championship loan for the player, and it does look like any chance that Leeds had of bringing him in are off the table. Player doesn't want to come. Leeds are sceptical about his fitness given the lack of minutes that he's had, and Aston Villa want him to go out, but where he goes remains to be seen. But it does now look like Emre Buendia will not be coming near Leeds, and Ben Jacobs will be on the channel in a couple of weeks' time to give us an update on the transfer targets for Leeds, or what Leeds will be doing in this January window. Moving on to some of the noise around potential incomings, and there has been a lot of transfer noise currently around the club relating to a centre-back coming in for Leeds, and one that was mentioned last week was Borussia Mönchengladbach centre-back come right-back Nico Elvedi. Now, according to Team Talk, they claim that Leeds are leading the race to sign the talented defender. Daniel Farke has said that he doesn't expect Leeds to do much business in January, but they might want to think about doing something as promotion rivals Sheffield United and Burnley are moving in their targets. Sheffield United are rumoured to be bringing Brent Burton Diaz back into the club, as well as Burnley already signing a defender and now adding Ashley Barnes to their firing power. They've re-signed a player from Norwich City. Team Talk understand though that Leeds have the upper hand in a potential move for the Swiss defender. Elvedi's played over 300 times for Borussia Mönchengladbach and does have a relationship with Daniel Farke, having played under him during Daniel Farke's time as the head coach of Borussia Mönchengladbach. But it should be said, and Daniel Farke has said this, he doesn't expect Leeds to do much business in January. He's very happy with the balance of his squad right now. So happy, in fact, that he's playing the centre-backs out of position in full-back positions. So clearly he believes he has depth in the defensive areas, but there has been a lot of noise around Leeds bringing in a centre-back, and we've got some updates in a second on those. But one story that's come up today is slightly surprising, and this relates to Jack Harrison and a potential cancelling of his loan agreement with Everton and a return to Leeds United. Under the old Everton ownership, Jack Harrison was expected to stay at Everton, mostly due to their financial constraints and not being in a position to pay a penalty fee for sending him back to Leeds and then bringing in another player. But since the Friedkin Group's takeover has now gone through, that position is said to have changed. According to The Athletic, they claim that Everton are said to be considering terminating Jack Harrison's loan and sending the player back to Leeds United. Harrison has come back into the Toffees lineup recently after a poor run of form saw him drop out of the side, and that form, unfortunately for Harrison, has continued. Harrison has been consistently criticised by the Everton fan base, and this has started taking a toll on his confidence. Harrison has no assists and no goals so far this season, has missed some high profile chances as well that would have seen Everton possibly get further away from the relegation zone than they are right now. Everton are said to want to bring in Jadon Philogene from Aston Villa, and to do that they're expected to cancel Jack Harrison's loan and bring him in. If they can get Philogene, they will, it's according to this, says that they will cancel Jack Harrison's loan and send him back to Leeds United. So Leeds may end up getting a player back that doesn't want to be here. I've been very vocal about the fact that he doesn't want to be here. His mum has been very vocal about the fact that he doesn't want to be here, and he might find himself in a position where he ends up back at Leeds regardless of what he thinks, and he could find it hard to get a move out. And Leeds are overstacked in the wide positions. When he comes back in, he could end up sitting on the bench for the rest of the year, or sitting off the bench as the case may be. And then finally today we're going to give you an update on the transfer links from last week and see where they are right now. The first one is Louis Barry, and he has put a comment out on his Instagram thanking Stockport County for the time that he spent there. And when a fan from Sunderland said, great, you can come and do the same here, he liked the comment, and according to reports now, that like means that Louis Barry is more favoured in a move to Sunderland than anywhere else, and I think it's unlikely that Louis Barry comes anywhere near Leeds United. Abdul Kabir Khusanov was a player that was linked with Leeds last week twice, and Leeds are very much in the mix for the player according to reports. But according to reports that have come out today, Manchester City are said to be ready to make a move for the player in January, and they will bring in several players during the winter transfer window, and Khusanov is said to be one of the players that they are targeting, likely ruling him out of any chance of a move to Leeds. And then the final one was Christopher Wooh. Defender was also linked with Leeds United last week, with several reports that Leeds were interested in a move for the player. Now, according to reports, Stuttgart in Germany in the Bundesliga are said to be the likely destination for the defender. So Khusanov and Wooh, both defenders being linked with Leeds, as well as Elvedi. Elvedi looks like Leeds could be interested in him properly. The other two very much out there, and the big one is a story coming from The Athletic about Jack Harrison, means that there's very strong credibility to that one as well. So we'll have to see how that one pans out over the next few days and weeks. Folks, that will be it for me today. There will be a preview to the Hull City game later on tonight. You can check that out. And I'll be back tomorrow morning and tonight with the Leeds United news. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll talk to you soon. See ya. Bye.